Are you ready, folks? If an emergency situation of catastrophic proportion were to happen tomorrow, would you know what to do and how to protect your loved ones? For the purpose of this program, we're going to define emergency in terms of the worst-case scenario. By preparing for the worst, you'll be better able to handle other emergencies or inconveniences that might occur in life. We define an emergency as a life-threatening, life-altering experience of such a magnitude it could disrupt the entire community. In the type of emergency we're describing, people might be required to evacuate their homes at a moment's notice. Medical assistance and emergency response personnel would likely be overtaxed and unavailable for a period of time. Electricity and local telephone service could be shut down possibly for a few days. Obtaining drinking water, shelter and food would be your prime concern if you're fortunate enough to be uninjured. As Canadians, we take pride in being a nation of pioneers able to fend for ourselves. However, the modern reality is we have become increasingly urban people used to 24-hour modern conveniences. Ask yourself, folks, could you survive on your own for at least 72 hours without these conveniences and without assistance? We can't always predict when and how a disaster will occur, but if we choose to plan for the unexpected, we stand a far better chance of being a survivor than a victim. By knowing what to do in an emergency and using common sense, not only do we help ourselves and our loved ones, we also help our communities. Now, are you ready? Do you have your paper and pencil? Disasters are unexpected. They can happen anytime without a moment's notice, and they're usually beyond our control. The only meaningful defense that we have is to plan for the unexpected. Now, what can you do? You can be prepared to avoid injury. You can be prepared to minimize damage to your home, and you can be prepared to survive for at least 72 hours without help. The first step is familiarize yourself with your area or neighborhood and the types of emergencies that might happen. These could include fire, flooding, unusual weather patterns, or landslides. Earthquake is an ever-present danger to anyone who lives near the Pacific coast. We've been warned by scientists for several years to expect an earthquake of substantial magnitude like the 1964 Alaskan earthquake, which caused a tsunami in Port Alberni. If you live near a harbor, industrial park, airport, or rail yard, ask yourself what types of accidents could occur in these areas. You might face the possibility of a chemical spill or a toxic fire. Ask questions, folks. Make sure your children are aware of those areas to avoid. Develop an emergency plan with your family and conduct a hazard hunt throughout your home. Make it a family project to discuss and plan what to do in a disaster like a fire or earthquake. If you talk about it, it becomes less frightening and every family member can contribute to ideas. If you practice what you do before an emergency, that knowledge will sustain you during the confusing and disorienting time. Fire! To prepare for an emergency that strikes when a family's at home, make sure everyone knows how to react by holding regular fire drills in your home. Figure out all the possible escape routes and make sure that everyone can get out of the house safely. Establish a safe meeting place where everyone will gather outside. You can do similar things in preparing for an earthquake. Practice by having regular earthquake drills. Then identify the safest location in each room. Then teach everyone to duck and cover.
Earthquake drill.
That is, drop down, take cover under anything that is sturdy, and hold on until all motion stops. Afterwards, discuss what each person did to be safe. Generally, the safest places to be in an earthquake are under a heavy table or desk, inside hallways, in the corner of a room, or under an archway. And an important part of family emergency planning is familiarizing everyone in the house with the possible dangers and remedies. Show everyone where the electrical panel is located and how to turn off the main power to the house. Let them know where the main water is. Replace corroded valves if necessary and tag the valve with a label so that everyone can find it. In an earthquake or similar catastrophe, the normal water supply is likely to be disrupted because of cracked or broken lines. It's better to turn the water off until you hear from the authorities that it's safe for drinking. Another important reason for shutting off the water is to trap whatever's in the hot water heater and toilet tank. If the water is not shut off, it's possible that negative pressure could cause the water to flow back into the main water lines. If you have natural gas in your home, it's important to know where the gas meter is and the correct way to turn it off. Store a wrench where it can be easily located in an emergency situation, and only shut off the gas if you smell a gas leak. Have a look at your hot water heater. It should be close to the wall and strapped down and secured with heavy-duty strapping, just like this here. to the studs inside the wall to prevent damage and to make sure that you have a source of water. Do you have chemicals stored in your basement or storage area? Carefully dispose of those that you don't need and make sure the remaining ones are clearly marked and stored in non-breakable containers. Read labels and be aware of possible hazards. Storing common household cleaning items like bleach and ammonia together can spell a disaster during an earthquake, as these chemicals create a toxic gas when mixed. Do you have a fire extinguisher in your home? It's actually a good idea to have several smaller fire extinguishers at various locations rather than just one big one. Show everyone in your home how to use them and make sure the extinguishers are properly charged. An ABC extinguisher is effective on all types of fires. Do you have a freezer? A fully loaded freezer will stay frozen for 2 days in the event of a power failure. If your freezer is only partially full, here's a handy tip. Fill water jugs like these with water. Open up your deep freeze, clean out the bottom, put the water jugs in the bottom, and put food over top. That eliminates a lot of back strain, and the icy jugs will keep the food frozen longer during a power outage. In the emergency, you can also provide yourself with more safe drinking water. Next, involve everyone in a hazard hunt. This is where you conduct a search to identify possible hazards in your home. You can make it real fun. It only takes 30 to 60 minutes. Are there heavy pictures or mirrors hung over beds or couches in your home? This could cause serious injury in the event of an earthquake. If you can't move the item to a safer area, make sure that they're securely fastened to the wall. Look around. Are there ornaments, clocks, or appliances sitting on top of shelves or wall units that could come tumbling down? Either move these items to a safer area or secure them. You can use Velcro tape, putty, fishing line, or double-sided tape to secure loose items. You can place non-skid pads or Velcro buckles under appliances and computers to keep them from sliding off desks or countertops. Large bookcases, china cabinets, and other furniture could topple over and cause serious injury in an earthquake. To avoid this, secure large top-heavy furniture to studs in your wall using L brackets and corner braces like these. In your kitchen and in other rooms where you have stored items in cupboards, make sure the cupboard doors properly latch shut. This will prevent items such as dishes and glassware from spilling out and smashing. Replace all faulty latches. Shattered glass is a serious hazard. One tip that can reduce the risk of shattered glass is to apply a clear protective film to your windows and skylights. These commercial films serve a double purpose, as they prevent burglars from breaking glass to enter your home, and they can minimize damage during the effects of an earthquake. While on the subject of broken glass, here's an important tip. Always keep a pair of sturdy shoes under your bed at night. If you suddenly have to get out of bed and respond to an emergency, this simple precaution could prevent you from cutting your feet. It's a good idea to have a flashlight with fresh batteries handy near the bed as well. Next, let's check the condition of your fireplace, if you have one. We want to make sure that there's no loose or damaged masonry, especially up on the top of a chimney. A loose brick could cause serious injury or property damage. Here's a potential problem, folks. This wood stacked against the house is a fire hazard. We'll need to move it into a shed or under a tarp. If these tree branches were weighted down with snow or ice, they could easily come in contact with the power lines leading to the house. Keep all trees well trimmed and fed to ensure that they're healthy. Healthy trees are less likely to fall over in high winds or drop heavy limbs. In your garage or basement, check where the wall meets the foundation. You should see foundation bolts placed every 6 feet along the sill. One of the major causes of residential damage in an earthquake occurs when a house slides off its foundation. Reviewing our action plan so far, we've identified the types of risk in our neighborhood, made sure that we have appropriate adequate insurance coverage, developed a family emergency plan, and we've conducted a hazard hunt. So we've taken steps to avoid injury and to minimize damage to our home. Next, we're going to help you prepare to survive for 72 hours without help. To prepare for a crisis, you should be able to take care of yourself, your family, and your neighbors for at least 3 days, until medical aid, transportation, water, electricity, and communications can be reestablished. As we mentioned before, emergency planning involves common sense. One of the most obvious ways to ensure that you're a successful survivor in an emergency is to maintain your physical fitness. By maintaining an active, healthy lifestyle year-round, you'll be able to deal with the stress and demands of an emergency. The next steps in our action plan are to enroll in a first aid course and learn the basics. Prepare an emergency survival kit and keep one handy in your home, car, and office. To prepare for an emergency, it's always a good idea for one or more members of your household to enroll in a first aid course and at least learn the basics, including CPR.
Courses that provide basic competency can be covered in just one day. Basic first aid training will also assist you in putting together a first aid kit, which is an important part of your emergency survival kit.
If you already enjoy camping, you probably have a lot of the items that you require for making up an emergency kit. Or you can go out and buy the ready-made kits just like this one here. Or it is possible, though, to make up your own. Here's what we recommend for your do-it-yourself home emergency kit. Use an inexpensive garbage container like this to store a first aid kit and an instruction booklet. A small battery-operated radio. Another good choice is one of these inexpensive solar-powered radios, which can be operated by winding it up or powered by batteries. You'll need a radio in order to receive emergency instructions and information from the authorities. A flashlight or glow sticks. A supply of spare batteries stored in a special waterproof bag. Candles and waterproof matches. If you have gas in your home, always avoid lighting a match until you're sure there's no gas leaks. An all-purpose fire extinguisher. Bottled water and non-perfumed chlorine bleach. Count on needing 4 liters of water per person per day, 1 for drinking water. Also, identify sources of stored water within the home. The average toilet stores 5 gallons of fresh water in its tank, not the bowl. We already mentioned the hot water tank as another source, and filling unused space in the freezer with jugs of water. It's a good idea to keep containers like this filled with tap water, but make sure you change it for freshness every 6 months. Add 4 drops of bleach for every 4.5 liters, that's a gallon, then seal the containers and label them with the date. If you use bottled water from commercial vendors, you can safely store extra water for up to 2 years. Remember now, you're going to require 12 liters of water to last 1 person for 3 days. Water purification tablets available at stores that sell camping supplies are another alternative to bleach. Food, keep a supply of non-perishable food handy that includes canned foods, dehydrated and freeze-dried foods, dried fruit and canned juice. Remember to rotate the food occasionally because we don't want to have any food kept for more than 1 year. Consider the needs of infants and pets when planning your food. The foods you choose should require little or no preparation time. Other handy foods to keep in stock are crackers, biscuits, honey, peanut butter, instant coffee, and tea. Oh, and remember a manual can opener like this one here, or an all-purpose tool just like this one. Warm clothes, you'll want 1 complete change per person of clothes, which is appropriate for the season. Sturdy shoes. Sleeping bags, 1 per person, or blankets, 2 per person for the warmth. Shelter, a plastic tarp, a small tent, or emergency space blanket. A rope, crowbar, and a wrench. Soap, toilet paper, and personal items. These travel toothbrushes are inexpensive, but boy, they handy. A whistle to attract attention. Cash, save those toonies. In a crisis, the highly computerized banking system might be temporarily shut down and bank cards rendered ineffective. You'll need hard currency. Keep a toonie jar, like this one. Keep those $2 coins. You're less likely to borrow from this, and it can add up to a fair bit over a period of time. Also, keep a roll of quarters for those phone calls. And extra car keys. A copy of important papers, medical card numbers, ID for everyone. Make sure that your children always carry some form of ID and information on special medical conditions. The emergency out-of-province contact phone number and cash calling card. Prescription medication. And if, for an example, you're insulin dependent, make sure you got an extra 3-day supply on hand. Plastic garbage bags which can double as rain ponchos. A fuel stove and fuel. Be sure to use these outside or in a fireplace. Plastic or disposable cups, plates and utensils. A cooking pot to heat the food. And any special requirements such as baby supplies, extra eyeglasses, etc. And don't forget the comfort toys and something to keep you busy. Keep your home emergency kit where it is secure, dry, and safe from pests. It should be easily accessible by more than 1 route in an emergency. In addition to your home emergency kit, it's a good idea to keep a grab-and-go bag just like these, just in case you suddenly have to evacuate, as in the event of a fire. Each family member should keep a grab-and-go bag in an easy-to-reach place, for an example, under the bed. You can purchase commercial kits like these, or fill a backpack or a tote bag with basic supplies, such as a first aid kit. Also a space blanket, water and food bars, glow sticks, don't forget that portable radio, and also identification card. And also don't forget that roll of quarters for that telephone call. Extra clothing, and a wrecking bar, or anything you feel you would personally need to survive for at least 12 hours. Since we spend so much time in our cars, it's a good idea to prepare to meet an emergency that might occur when you're driving.
Just as you did for your home, keep a grab-and-go bag in your car and one in your office at work. Keep a small grab-and-go kit in your children's backpacks when they head off to school so they can be prepared. We've covered quite a few items in our action plan, and you might be feeling just a bit overwhelmed. Remember, you don't have to do it all at once. Take it one step at a time. Part of the planning is determining what is most important to you and taking steps to do it. We are all part of a community, whether you live in an apartment complex or in a single-family residential area. Get to know your neighbors. Make the effort to contact the emergency coordinator in your municipality. If your municipality doesn't have an emergency coordinator, contact the Provincial Emergency Program to find out what plans they have in place for your area. Ensure your workplace has an effective emergency preparation program and familiarize yourself with what will happen and where you will be evacuated to. The same steps should be taken with your local schools. Familiarize yourself with the emergency preparation in place at your local schools to help prepare your children and find out where they will be evacuated. Make sure the school has a record of the name and number of your child's out-of-province contact person. You could take the initiative to organize an emergency program for your immediate neighborhood. By knowing who your neighbors are, you can establish who is at risk and who can be of assistance in an emergency. You can encourage others to take steps to prepare, because the better prepared they are, the less dependent they are likely to be on you in an emergency.
You can establish who will assist in surveys of homes following a disaster, who has medical and special knowledge in your area. Find out who in the area has an electrical generator, an emergency pump, a snowplow. Ultimately, your first responsibility is to make sure that you're safe so that you can assist those around you. If you have a physical limitation that puts you at greater risk, make sure that you have a local contact person who will check on you in an emergency and arrange for any special assistance you might need. Let the local emergency coordinator know of your circumstances in preparation for an emergency. There's a wealth of detailed printed information available to assist you in your preparations. Preparing for an emergency is one of those things we know we should do, but we have a tendency to put off for whatever reasons. We encourage you to make the effort to protect yourselves. Take it one step at a time and set yourself goals based on your finances and time. If you do nothing else, at least make sure you cover the 3 most important things on our list. Establish an out-of-province contact number and fill in one of these contact cards. Establish a meeting place for your family and know where they'll be in an emergency if you are separated. Have emergency supplies on hand. Emergency preparedness is like insurance. It's all about peace of mind. Make sure you are ready.